Some people on Wall Street have expressed concerns that the possibility of a recession is increasing. And I want to know what you think about that. Are you comfortable with the country potentially dipping into a recession for a period of time if you are able to achieve your long-term goals?
Well, you say some people on Wall Street say, well, I like to tell you something else. Some people on Wall Street say that we're going to have the greatest economy in history. Why don't you talk about them? Because some people on Wall Street say this is the greatest thing.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at, though. It's the same question.
Yeah, there are many people on Wall Street say this is going to be the greatest windfall ever happened.
And it's showtime.
Hello,
and it is. Yeah, I always got to start out with something, fun and different at the beginning. So how you doing, Romeo?
Good. I look at Trump and everyone panicking. It's all just that echo chamber. Like, they don't even know what they're panicking about.
I know.
We hired this guy to be president so that he could negotiate for us. Tariffs are a way to negotiate. Give him a little time.
Oh, well, I just heard that, China finally caved on the tariffs, They're finally seeing the light. And actually, I think it's kind of funny because they came out and pleaded to him. And so far as I know, he hasn't even returned their phone call yet. You know what I mean? He's kind of being quiet. But it looks like it's
thousands and thousands of ships sitting off their port, and all of our ports are clean right now.
Yeah. Well, and they stand to losing millions of jobs, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of jobs if everything comes to a screeching halt. So actually, they have more to lose than us. But a lot of people don't understand.
All we're asking for is reciprocal trade. That's all we want. Yeah. Fair trade.
Yep. And, and it's right now it's the end game. And most people don't see the end game, well, maybe not most, but I mean, the liberals, they don't see the end game. They just think this is all terrible and it's going to ruin the economy. And they got to spread fear amongst everybody to get everybody all riled up. But in reality, it's the end game that we're looking for. And I know, people don't like to hear it, but there's no pain, no gain. And that's kind of what we're going to have to go through. I knew from the beginning that once these tariffs went in, that we were going to feel some pain, no doubt about it. But
hospital supplies are really low.
Yeah.
That part is a little concerning, but they're not very far from running out of hospital supplies. But look at one way or another, we're either going to have to make a fair deal with China, or we're going to have to produce the products ourselves or buy them somewhere else. One or the other.
Yeah. Well, what I'm curious is they're saying, well, if they went to a no tariff on each side or reciprocal, which would be the same for same. But the thing I look at is they sell 5 times as much to us as we sell to them. So why don't they make the agreement somewhere, to where that balances the tables a little bit,
Right. No, we've been getting taken advantage of by the entire world for a long time. And you know what? It's time to rig the rules in favor of America for once. And when I say rig the rules, all we're really talking about is reciprocal trade or no tariffs. Ultimately, that's where we want to go. No tariffs. You don't charge us tariffs.
Yeah,
we don't charge you tariffs.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how reciprocal works. So if it's zero, it's zero. It's reciprocal. But there's sometimes things get a little bit lopsided, especially if you have zero on both sides, but nothing gets purchased from your country, then it's out of balance again, because it's either that or they can't afford what you're selling. That's a good possibility, though. But I don't know. So I say there's got to be some kind of adjustment there. And for so long, it's been lopsided. You know, it was like the United States was giving everybody a break. You know what I mean? and allowing other countries to, you know, some countries had 700% markup on some things, you know, some food products and so forth. They were doing what we're talking about. They were protecting their own people because they didn't want the food products to, you know, put some of their people out of work, you know, so they were protecting it. So, and I get it, you know, so there's always reasons for how things will work on a more even, you know, playing field. But I heard some stories this morning that were just, the proportions was crazy. I mean, we're 2-3%, and to some countries, and you know, 6 to 7, 100% on some things. Generally, things were probably 40 to 50, and maybe sometimes 60% on general products. But I mean, some of the real extreme cases, you know, specific things like American grown rice to other countries is super, super high. And it was like,
yeah, what about cars? You know, our cars and trucks, you can't compete with American trucks, and we aren't even given an opportunity to sell them anywhere, because no one's going to buy a Ford F-150 if you've got to pay an extra, you know, 40 grand or 50 grand for it with a 50%
absolutely
tariff. No, you know,
and it's already crazy here.
Yeah, they're not doing anything to help the American worker. And we gave China the whole piece of production that they have right now in their country. We're the ones who facilitated that for them.
I know.
So
we gave them their start in their industrial revolution over there.
Yep. Pretty much after Nixon went over.
Yeah.
We've been making them for years. So, and it's not just that with China specifically. It's that they're stealing so much intellectual property each year. It's just absolutely unreasonable. And that's, you know, if Trump hasn't returned the call, that's why. Okay. Yeah. It's
well, and I think he's doing it on purpose, obviously.
You know, right.
Let it simmer. It's part of the art of the deal, I think.
And that's why we hired him. And, you know,
that's right.
I hear people talking about how Trump's poll numbers are going down. That's the narrative the news wants you to believe. But when you really look at, like Rich Barris, when you really look at the pollsters who've been consistently right over the last decade, Trump is pretty much at the highest levels he's been. People are happy with what's going on with Doge, what's going on with the border. You know, would we like to see a little more movement as far as people being charged for crimes? Of course we would, specifically with January 6th and with what happened
absolutely.
during COVID. So
I know, and we've been talking about that for years now. And it's just we're waiting.
And here's the deal. I mean, like, keep it real. No one has been charged yet, ever. It's not just under Trump, but if you look at the things that we're talking about, no one's been charged. And I know. It's sort of hard to believe that anyone will be, just based on the.
But if it was Trump that did any of those acts,
he'd be in
court right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just man.
If he did any of those acts, they'd have him in prison right now.
Right. So, well, speaking of news, let me put this on here.
Say to those who believe you are taking the country down an authoritarian path.
Well, there you go again. Why don't you ask it a different way? Many people wanted to come into our country. Many people love Trump. I won the election. They didn't win the election. I got a lot more votes than they did. I won the popular vote. I won all 7 swing states by a lot. A lot of people were surprised. I said, I think you could win 4, maybe 5. No, I won all 7, and I won by a lot. And I won, actually. I think there was a lot of hanky-panky going on, but it was too big to rig. That's the good news. It's too big to rig. But let me just say, so when you make these statements about people say this, people, well, you know, they had their chance at the election and they lost big. So you should ask the question differently. You should say, what about the people that want to be in this country? What about the people that love this country?
But what do you say? I'm asking it on behalf of those people to give you a chance to respond to them. What do you say to those people, sir?
Yeah, but the way
Those
she
people are
asked
going
it.
to be very happy. They're going to have to see some results. And I think we had a great 100 days. There are a lot of people that say it was unprecedented. It was an absolutely unprecedented 100 days. And I hope that they're going to be right.
Yeah. Well, and she said, "Oh, well, I'm asking in their behalf." But you could see the question was like a setup, right? You know, right away.
They always ask questions in a way where they're setting up a straw man argument.
Yeah.
It's always loaded, and it's always against Trump and his policies because they don't believe in the same America we do. That's really the heart of the issue. If you go point by point with the Democratic platform compared to what Trump's platform, particularly because the uniparty is a real thing in DC. But if you go point by point with what the left wants to do and what Trump's doing, they're against every single thing he's doing. And here's the crazy part. They're fighting all this legal battle with the border to keep felons and gang members here who are committing crimes. What's wrong with these people?
Well, here's their true feelings right here. This is a perfect setup here. Whoop, there we go. Yeah, you played right into that one. But
yeah, that's like that scene off the Al Capone movie with De Niro in it.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner, that's funny. Good deal.
Yeah. So and that's pretty much it. They're all embracing these criminals just because they want to do whatever's opposite of what Trump's doing, and it's terrible that they just throw all reasoning to the wind.
Yeah, their positions. It makes me really happy in a way because their positions assuredly will cost them seats in the House and Senate.
Oh, absolutely.
If they continue on the course they're on, they're going to lose in the midterms. And traditionally, they should win in the midterms because the Republicans have, basically all three branches of government.
Usually. That's
you wouldn't know that by the Supreme Court's recent decisions. Like, I guess all that decision, that 7-2 decision did was just to buy them some time to actually hear a case. But in doing that, they violated the heart of the presidential powers imbued in the Constitution. And so that part I don't understand. The Supreme Court looking really foolish in my opinion. And obviously there's a couple of really good actors there in Thomas and Alito. But what a sad set of affairs, that decision the other day. I know it's not a big decision, that they're gonna make a permanent decision on this at some point down the road, but still, for them to get involved as fast as they did, I mean, this all happened in the wee hours of the morning. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
You can't tell the president that he doesn't have the power to decide who to deport and not. These are
And-
not citizens.
and then give you 45 minutes to respond. Yeah.
Right. And these aren't citizens that Joe Biden's administration brought in here at taxpayers' expense. I watched for 4 years these flights a couple times a week coming into, I mean, like a couple times a week, I would look at the flights, thousands of flights. They weren't just letting them cross the border, they were flying them in. In the last year of this administration, I think they probably flew in 1 million, 2 million people just on planes in the last year. So
Yeah. No, I know.
that's insanity. Like when JJ Carroll is telling us, you know, they're 100,000 a month, 150,000 a month. That's craziness.
So you'd think that they were bringing them in to secure their voter base, or
The census.
I mean, a lot of people say that, but if they thought they were so successful in running things and controlling things, why would they think that they would have to bring in more voting unless they saw that they were losing ground?
Reason that they're, Dave, the whole reason that they're bringing them in is to replace their vote that they lost. They don't have the vote of the working man anymore because they stand against the working man. They imported a dependent class that needs cradle to grave money from the government each month to live. That's what the Democrats imported. And to see them fighting the way they are legally in every court in the land to keep all these people they brought here illegally, I want to see people go to prison for that.
Oh, me
I want
too.
to see people go to prison for what happened on January 6th. And I want to see.
Matter of fact, I would have rather seen him going to jail first before all this other stuff, because you know, if you get most of these people in jail, then they can't be on the attack like they are now. Because there's a lot of them that need to be shut down right now. But you know, I due process.
Yeah, I mean, where they've broken laws, they should be.
This gal really brings up some good points.
Liberal again.
Sorry
We're
about
the
that.
generation that grew up with parents living in a well-working society, being able to afford groceries on just one paycheck, dad being able to go to work, mom typically able to stay at home, going on vacation, the normal classic American dream. I know so many Gen Zers, including myself, that are working multiple jobs by themselves just to afford rent. Not even to buy a house, afford rent in a condo apartment. The liberal ideologies do not favor the working class of the American that wants to be an entrepreneur, that wants to own a business, that wants to be able to have a family on one paycheck. Because the liberal class favors progressive ideologies, which in no way favor the independent working man to climb the ladder. It's simple. You can literally look at the last 4 years that Biden was in office, from 2020 to 2024. I would say that really had a dramatic effect on America and this generation. The number of riots, the number of illegal migrants coming into the country, pricing of houses going up. You know that the majority of Hollywood and celebrities are left-leaning, and yet they're all so irrelevant to us working class. The majority of Americans can't even afford eggs right now. Everybody is all of a sudden leaning towards being a trad wife, and all of a sudden women are realizing that it actually kind of sucks being controlled by all these feminist ideologies, and people are trying to bring back families. You can see how desperate our generation is for truth, and just to go back to what it used to be for our other parents' generations and the way they grew up. So no, I don't think that the new generation that is well informed will ever vote liberal ever again.
Boy, she hits all the key points.
Yep.
You know, boom, 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 boom.
She's absolutely on point.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids that just got out of college that are 21 when they're graduating, and they don't even look at it. It used to be where it might take you a couple years to get a job back after I graduated school. But now it's like, to get a job that you can afford to live, you know, and not at your parents' house, but actually have your own first place and afford electric.
Yeah.
It's not possible. on the types of jobs that are available. And so, yeah, and that's just one of the areas that the inflation that Biden brought on us, the cost of energy that he brought on us, all of it will get fixed, but it's going to take a minute. It's going to take
Everything takes time.
Yeah.
It
There's no
took time to screw it up. It's going to take time to fix it. Hey, there's Lisette. Yay. She made it.
Hi, Lizette.
Yeah.
Hello to everyone. I can't say Rapu. I can't say his name, but thanks for the comment before.
Oh, yeah. You mean Carrie? That's Carrie backwards, you know.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, that's Carrie. It's just she took and flipped it around and used it as a screen name.
Very cool.
We all know her as Carrie.
Yeah, it used to be where on one paycheck, you know, you could raise a family and actually go on vacation once or twice a year. And it isn't that way anymore. You know, the retirement packages, they aren't there anymore. These big companies that people used to work at and get a fair wage, those jobs aren't available. And so,
oh, I know.
It's really sad for anyone just getting out of school that went into debt to get an undergraduate degree, and doesn't have hope of getting a job that they could afford to live on their own. That's the whole key.
They go into debt to get the education, to get the big paying job, but then the big paying job is not there. And they end up working at some small hole in the wall, something or other.
Waiting tables, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so, when Trump says, get rid of tax on tips, that matters. That's a big deal for food servers, like a huge deal. And I'd like to see no payroll tax. That's the answer to all this. In 1913 is when the payroll tax started. So technically,
well, yeah,
as a republic, we have
had taxed on tax. Yeah.
Right. Well, technically, as a republic, we have had more time without a payroll tax than we have with an income tax. Okay, so still, right now, we have more years of no payroll or income tax as a republic, as a nation, than we do with it. And it's time to get rid of that garbage. We don't need it. It allows government to do things like getting 36, 37, I don't even know what the number is now. It's unthinkably high. And then couple that with the 21 trillion that's missing. I mean, come on. We had better structure how we do things.
Yeah, Carrie, I agree. And that's going to happen in schools. And I hate to say it, but primarily a lot of the colleges, which kind of leads me into the other thing, because Romeo and I were talking about the paying for your education and all that. Well, has anybody seen where Candace Owen was talking about what the administration was doing to the college, that, trying to keep them from promoting anti-Semitism and, various programs. And here, let me just show you this.
Yeah, they're taking the money away.
Yeah. Hang on, I got to go to it. Find it. There it is.
Never thought that I would see a day where I would be rooting for a university above Donald J. Trump and his administration. But I don't recognize this administration right now. I don't recognize what's happening. I have a theory. I do. We were kicking around some theories earlier, me and the team, and we were going, how could Trump be such a free speech enthusiast and allowing these things to happen, going after college universities, trying to suppress speech, while pretending that you're not suppressing speech, while pretending that you're fighting DEI. It's so messy. It's so obvious. Everyone knows what you're doing. People who are still trying to grift, I suppose, are not willing to challenge you on this, which is ridiculous, because when you are out of office, we are going to have to live with these consequences. Our children are going to have to grow up in this America. Okay. So when you threaten our speech, it's not worth it so that we can have pom-poms and go hurrah for a couple of years, then go, okay, well, yeah, now it kind of stinks because, oh, we're getting arrested for wrongthink. We got David Friedman. Yeah, arrest him. Arrest Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Get them. I love it. And if you think it's going to stop with college campuses, you're out of your mind. So you better buck up and root for Harvard University in this fight.
See, yeah. So, what do you think about that?
I think it's crazy because is she referring to Trump threatening to take away the funding?
Oh, not threatening. He did. But the thing is he's trying to stop certain things that seem to propagate in college environment, which is eventually ends up being all one-sided. Imagine having a debate class and everybody on both teams saw and thought the same way. You wouldn't have much of a debate, would you?
Right.
Well, that's the way
for protecting speech, no matter
campuses
what.
But campuses are turning into this, thing where they're only one-sided.
Yeah.
Hey, I think John just made it in.
Their indoctrination camps is pretty much what they've turned into.
Hey, you're late, John. You're late. You missed the party.
My daughter was at camp the last 3 days, and the bus broke down on the mountain. We had to go pick up our own kids.
You're gonna have to go out and back in. You're breaking up.
Got it.
Do it. He knows the routine. This happens a lot. So.
Yeah, I'm for look at. No one needs to protect speech that everyone agrees on. The speech we need to protect is the loathsome, horrid speech. And the reason we need to protect it is because once you go down that road, like Candace is saying, once you go down that road,
right?
What happens when power changes and someone else is deciding what's wrong think? I mean, that's right out of 1984. So
yep.
I mean, we've already seen England and Canada arresting people for speech, arresting people for praying in their head in public. Like, are you serious? And so look at, I want to protect speech. Okay. And
yeah, so there's a fine line.
Right. You don't protect speech by
when your professors and the faculty and the students are all in this mode of going off one direction. I think that there's a problem with that, because the schools are supposed to be neutral. They're supposed to be, even thought process. Oh, look at Nina made it too.
Hey, yeah. I'm here right next to Donald Trump as the Pope. Okay, that's pretty interesting.
Man, no, now you're next to John.
Yeah, John. Shit. Okay.
John's been having sound issues here. Okay, we're all here.
Am I okay now with the sound?
Yep, perfect. It always, second time is always works the best. So
yeah, I mean,
we've been talking about a lot of issues. Go ahead, John.
No, I just like I said, I'm late because I left a message to my daughter's been away at camp for last 3 days, and the bus broke down on the mountain. We had to go up there and pick our own kids up. And let me tell you, that is no fun job. You need a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and we're driving this little Ford small thing. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. It's like in other words, you know, it's like in the snow and ice. That's what it's like going on these mountain roads that aren't even wet. They're not wet at all. It's just they're that steep.
Yeah. Wow.
So
anyway,
good place for the bus to break down.
Try to catch you up. We've been talking about all sorts of things. The last statement that Candace Owen made about Harvard College and so forth. I don't know if you saw that, Nina or John?
I have not
Did you see
seen that. What did she say?
Well, she's basically saying that President Trump and his administration is stepping into an area that's trying to control, freedom of speech on the campuses and so forth. It just depends, I think, on how you understand how the funding is being proposed to being regulated to him. And like I was telling Romeo earlier, it's like the whole college and all the students, the faculty are all kind of going off in one direction. And it seems that our schools and our colleges should be neutral ground. Mm-hmm. And so, it's one of those things like how do you combat that without appearing that you're trying to stop free speech or penalize somebody? It's like back in the old days. Remember when TV commercials for a candidate, there was a law at the time that you had to have equal time. So if you gave time to a Republican, you had to give the same amount of time to a Democrat or whatever the party. It was equal time. And back in those days, news was supposed to be biased. And back in those days, news was fact-checked before they reported on it. Once we opened up the opinion news, something changed. And they realized, sensationalism, get it out, be the first one out. And half the time, the stuff is incorrect. And then when it comes time to, say, oops, sorry, they put it way back here or on the last page or a little side thing on the end of a news thing to where you won't hardly even notice that they even apologized or made a correction. But I mean, those days when you looked at news as news, when it was like nothing but the facts, kind of thing, you believed it. Well, the belief theory kept going, but the factual quit. You know what I mean?
Basically,
now,
what you're trying to say
you know what I mean?
So
people believe it because they see it. When I was a kid, I remember my grandmother used to say, well, if it's in print, you can believe it. She used to believe that, I mean, if you picked up a newspaper and it was in the newspaper, because they had certain ethics back then that they really tried their darndest to get the things right, but not always get it right.
I mean, when you said that, it brought memories of my grandfather who used to say the same thing. He thought they couldn't print it unless it was true.
Right,
and,
exactly.
But he said that about the National Enquirer. So
well, see, and then as I was brought up, my parents always told me, don't believe anything, question everything, do your own research, find it out yourself.
I used to live 3 miles from
the came home and said, if I came home and said, the kid said such, and mom says, well, how do you know that's true? Did you find out for sure? So I just always, and my daughter thinks I'm cynical because I question everything, but
I think that's actually a good practice. Yeah. And I do know we don't have the time to research every single thing.
I know.
So maybe it's a good idea sometimes to not form an opinion when we already know, well, I don't have all the information. And therefore, I'm trying to keep an open mind about this and I'm waiting to see what else comes out. But the things that you can research and you have the time to do that, then I think definitely we all should, because otherwise, what we've seen in the last 10 years in particular is that there's going to be people in the media, especially the mainstream media, who is going to push a certain agenda because they're taking money from someone else. They're accepting money. When the Democrats were in control of the government, the Democrats were giving money through the government to the media. And therefore the media said, we can't print anything the government doesn't want us to. We can't get that out there. As a matter of fact, we have to actively combat anything that seems to counteract that. And that's what they were doing. And average Americans maybe not a whole lot at the beginning, but a lot of average Americans started looking and saying, "Now, wait a minute, something is fishy about this."
Yeah.
And for me, that day came when, and I've told y'all this before, when I am watching a reporter on a news station. I want to say it was CNN, but anyway, he's covering the riots up in Michigan where they were burning down whole neighborhoods. And he stands there with a burning building behind him and he says, "Oh, this is a mostly peaceful protest." And I thought, when it cuts back to the anchor, surely they're going to challenge that. Well, they didn't. Not
Yeah.
at all. And I thought, are they really trying to tell us don't believe what's right in front of our eyes?
Right, right.
Exactly.
It was so
Carrie
obvious.
wants me to replay what you missed. You want to see it or not?
Sure, sure.
Okay. I add it to the stage. I got to go to that tab.
I never thought that I would see a day where I would be rooting for a university above Donald J. Trump and his administration. But I don't recognize his administration right now. I don't recognize what's happening. I have a theory. I do. We were kicking around some theories earlier, me and the team, and we were going, how could Trump be such a free speech enthusiast and allowing these things to happen? Going after college universities, trying to suppress speech, while pretending that you're not suppressing speech, while pretending that you're fighting DEI. It's so messy. It's so obvious. Everyone knows what you're doing. People who are still trying to grift, I suppose, are not willing to challenge you on this, which is ridiculous, because when you are out of office, we are going to have to live with these consequences. Our children are going to have to grow up in this America. Okay. So when you threaten our speech, it's not worth it so that we can have pom-poms and go hurrah for a couple of years, then go, okay, well, yeah, now it kind of stinks because, we're getting arrested for wrongthink. We got David Friedman. Yeah, arrest him. Arrest Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Get them. I love it. And if you think it's going to stop with college campuses, you're out of your mind. So you better buck up and root for Harvard University in this fight.
There you go. That's what you missed. But even my wife said, have you noticed a kind of a change in Candace Owens?
Candace.
And I said, well, what are you talking about? Yeah, Candace. Yeah. And I go, well, what are you talking about? And she goes, well, lately, when you watch her show, you kind of feel this where you kind of align with what she's saying. She goes, lately, I've been watching her show, and lately she seems kind of off the mark. It doesn't feel the same. So, and then, so I happened to look this article up that I just showed you just now. And so I don't know if there's something happening with her. She's changing. Maybe she's become more of a team player because she talked to her team versus used to be Candace Owens was at her. She spoke her mind. Didn't matter what you thought. This is what she thinks. And she was very, very to the point. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to worry about, but I do understand what she's saying in that article, So
yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I agree with the idea that I personally feel like when free speech is being threatened, the remedy is more free speech. So, in other words, what I'm saying is when Harvard is out there pushing only one side of things, the idea that we should be is not that we fight and say, oh, well, you can't push that side. You can't say anything. Instead, we should say, okay, let's make sure you present the other side too. Let's make sure there's plenty of people invited to your campus to do that. And that's what wasn't happening at Harvard.
And a lot of speakers were being canceled. They were being canceled or they would be on campus and basically forced off campus because the campus had gotten so taken over by one lean thought process that
the college refused to protect people who were coming there because they didn't like what they were saying. So my idea is actually what you should be teaching on the college campus is If you don't like what they're saying, make sure their audience is small. Don't go. You know, that doesn't mean you prevent other people from going, or you go and you shout them down or anything like that. You let them speak, you just don't give them an audience, right? So, but Harvard wasn't doing that. They were saying, "Oh, sorry, you know, if you're being attacked, if they're trying to come after you and actually assault you and make you feel afraid, and therefore, well, that's free speech too."
Right.
Yeah.
That's the part that I don't agree with. Yeah. There
Yeah,
is a limit to.
I think there's got to be a way of regulating the school itself. The only way that Trump sees to regulate it is through the pocketbook. You know,
That's the only way we've been able to do things. We sure as hell haven't been able to get anybody arrested, much less go in front of a judge.
That's
Because every
true.
time we do something that seems to be in our benefits, all of a sudden here comes a new judge out of the woodwork, like this last guy who's only been a judge for 4 damn months. A judge for 4 months, and he's already dictating to the White House what policies are going to do. This has got to stop. I'm telling you right now. I said this a long time ago after I've been talking with the guys from the embassies and whatever. They came to the conclusion years ago. The only way that America's going to get straightened out is if there's a good ass brawl. They were using that basically as a civil unrest between the both factions of it. Because until that happens, we're going to see the same thing happening again and again and again. Somebody else, they're passing out. All of a sudden, we're starting to see now that these judges are being arrested. And all of a sudden, here comes the ACLU with another 100 more high-powered attorneys that are going to be funded by George Soros or whoever. I mean, it's just going to continue until we finally get 1 or 2 of them into a court, into a trial, on video, and actually incarcerate these people for what crimes they've committed. Until that happens, even like Jim Jordan, he's let me down an awful lot too. I thought that he was doing okay, but I was wondering, why is it taking so long? It's taking years. And all of a sudden, here it comes. Boom.
kind of like a lion with no teeth.
That's right. And we've been seeing it. But is he compromised? Who knows? The point behind it is there's a lot of people that we do not know the answers to a lot of the questions. And I believe everything is dealing around this Epstein. Everything is around that. And it's the people that are, that should be in front of jail, that should be in prison. They're not. We don't even know who they are. The actual names. We know we only think so, but there's nobody has been brought up or charged with any of the crimes. Think about how many hundreds of crimes have been committed at that Epstein's Island and St. James Island. Think about that. And not one person has been brought to jail for it or justice, much less even arrested for it. Think about that. It's supposedly the crime of the century. Where are they? Who is it? Who are they?
I think that for that, I mean, there's a couple possibilities, but one of them is definitely he was an asset. I mean, that's why he got house arrest when he got busted for SA, with minors. Yeah. He got busted in Florida, and the prosecutor and the judge were told he was an asset. So, I mean,
there's supposedly several hundred girls. And if you want to talk about how many people flew in those planes to and from the island over the years, not just over a period of 3 or 4 months, over the years, how many dozens upon dozens of dignitaries and how many people are baseball players or football players or politicians? Where are these people's names? And the same thing is happening with the T.
John, they got blackmail on them. They have the thing is, they have blackmail on them, and as soon as they make it all public, they don't get to exercise their blackmail anymore, do they?
Yeah, that's why some files are sealed.
Just making the observation that as soon as they go public with it, they don't have their blackmail anymore. So these people want to hold on to the blackmail they have. In the intel agencies, like every room in that plane and in Little St. James was recorded. They've got an untold number of people on video doing hideous things. And these people are very wealthy and they're using that to their own purposes. And I don't think it's just the American intel agency. I think there's multiple intel agencies that have used Epstein. I mean, if he was a normal guy, he'd have been in prison you'd have never even heard his name. He'd been in prison so fast.
Mhm.
And
And not just him, but all the
women-
clients that he was
Yep.
pulling in
Right.
and blackmailing. All of them would be in jail too.
Well, and then they
And-
thought, well, we can't put all the government in jail.
Well, here's a couple other things too. We put up with how many years? 4 years or more of all these lawsuits against Donald Trump, with only the one left. It's an appeal. That appeal went in back in October of last year. Where's the court on this? Where's the ruling? Is it good or is it no good? Is it going to be thrown out or is it going to be continued? We haven't heard squat about it. Nothing about it. It should have been handed already down. It should be, well, yeah, it's going to stand. It's going to keep on that, on that level that he'll have to, own up to it one day or whatever the situation is. But there's nothing on it. Yet Letitia James, there's more information. She's caught red-handed. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. She is caught red-handed with using her father as her as a husband and wife thing. It's clear on the paperwork. Also, too,
And done repeatedly, not just on one time, done repeatedly.
Now, there's
Yeah.
something else that I've been finding out too. I don't have all the details. I'll probably a couple more
She-
days I can find out more. There's
5
also some
unit.
more
She
information
said
on
she
her.
had a 4 unit instead of a 5 unit because it
Right,
got her
it's-
a huge break.
Yeah.
And they're
on the
rented-
rate.
yeah, that goes to a commercial rate, 4 and 5. She knew what she was doing there. But also,
Oh, yeah.
too, there's new things too that where she's had complaints from her. She's got, I think, 16 or 17 complaints that were filed with the city on against her for problems with the units. Most of it has to do with paint. I'm not sure whether it has to be with lead paint or just peeling off. But in other words, that she's basically been a slum landlord, not handing.
Slum
in other words,
landlord, yeah,
right?
not repainting when she
If
rents
you've
it.
got
Right,
lead in
so-
your paint in 2025, if you've got lead in your paint, there's something wrong with you because they outlawed
Yeah.
that in the 70s.
Yeah, I know. It's just the point of, all this stuff is coming up and we're hearing about indictments. I'm sick and tired of hearing about indictments. Either you're going to be arrested, handcuffed, taken to jail. Here's your point blank. Here it is. Your trial is coming up on X amount of dates. That's it. We need
Right.
to see
How many
these things.
indictments have we seen and nothing happens?
Oh,
Mhm.
and get sick and tired of it. And it's the point of this Pam Bondi, I've run across her before because I've lived in Florida. She is hard nosed. And it's not her that something's going on with. There's something going on within the departments. I actually really believe that what I've been hearing is the truth, is that most of like the FBI, the DEA, and all the rest of them, they're still heavily corrupted, well below the upper ranks, the upper echelon, well into the ranks of the field people.
Of
I know
course
what it's
they
like. I
are.
was a field person. I was a field person once upon a time. Anything
no,
that
of
bothered me
course they
in
are.
Colombia or Costa Rica or Brazil or whatever, we were our own entity. You didn't mess with us. So what? What are you going to do? Come down and kick us out? You can't do it. It's just a point of things are very strange on too many avenues. And yet, even though there's also the Democrats are all screwed up, they seem to have the upper hand. Every time something goes on, boom, here comes another judge up. Here comes another judge up. And there's many times they're arresting these judges on actually committing felonies, not just interfering where it could be borderline. It's like that one justice, that female justice in Milwaukee. She committed a federal crime. You don't take somebody, who's being wanted by the federal government that you're aware of and take them and help hide them. You don't do that.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
And that they're trying to
When
make
they're
her look
in
out
your
like she's-
courtroom for sentencing for another crime,
And
and
the-
then before she sentences him, has him ushered out.
Yeah, she went outside of her courtroom to confront the ICE agents. They were not in her courtroom, so they did everything right. They stayed out of her courtroom. Yeah, that's her courtroom when she's in session. When she's not in session, it's not her courtroom. And they stayed completely out of there. Completely out of there. She went out there, confronted them, came back into her courtroom. I guess they felt something was wrong, so they raced to the other side of the building and caught them coming out the other end. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. And with this Garcia, this is unbelievable. This guy has got, he's got to have one of the most horrific records that I've ever seen before. He's got records even dating back from El Salvador. And he's really
Mhm.
the information I found out about him, he's actually basically borderline Guatemala, El Salvador resident. They're saying El
Mhm.
Salvador because his parents had a business certain on one side of the border, and they're actually living right now in Guatemala, 10 miles away from the border. So even he's made the mention too that he's not afraid to go back there back in 2019 because he's not afraid of the other gangs. He's just like even the gangs, the Hells Angels. Just take the Hells Angels. They've got these gangs have codes. If you're wearing a jacket that says Hells Angels on the back, I dare you to go anywhere near a real Hells Angel. They will spot you and they will kill you.
Yeah.
They will kill you. MS-13, all the rest of these gangs. This guy has got the tattoos, MS-13, of course, it that doesn't say MS-13, but it's the codes on his knuckles, plus others on his body that says he's MS-13. If he would run into real MS-13 and he's not, he's a dead man. They're not coming out and telling everything about it, or even if they are, they're making it, they're whitewashing it with milk, and it's not the way it's done.
Wait. Didn't you hear that was photoshopped?
Oh yeah, Photoshop.
Did you see that? See
You know,
that?
I don't think the restraining order that his wife got against him 2 different times was photoshopped.
No,
Yeah,
It's a matter
exactly.
of public record.
Exactly.
they're
Yeah.
just trying to make. MSNBC and CNN they're shoving everything out there they possibly can to lie. And I mean, let's
They picked the
face it. For
wrong
the
case.
last 4 to 5 years, it's
Oh,
been nothing but lies. It's lies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What they shove
picked-
out there is lies, and they're
They-
expecting people to buy it. And that's even why they're like with Trump with in the Oval Office, like Zelensky. These people are liars. They're willing to they have no common sense at all anymore. It's all lies. They're willing to confront the president of the United States right in the Oval Office. That to me is that's unbelievable. That really is. When he did that, I went, "Are you kidding me?" This is. I mean, I'm sure the rest of the world was shocked too. You don't do that in public, much less in the outside the Oval Office. And and even then, I really liked the way that things came across with
You lost
with
Romeo.
Zelensky with everybody else, that they came right to the aid of Trump, saying like, "Hey, this can't be." JD Vance, he even chewed him out about the suit. So it's absolutely crazy. But we've got to something's got to be done. We've got to find some. I guarantee you right now that we're going to start losing ground real fast to the Democrats if something is not done in this month of April. Literally, it's got to be
Yep.
done. I mean, excuse me, a month of May. Something's got to be done this month because I don't think the public is. I've been seeing some of the big guys that are out there, like the heavy hitters like Tim Cass and some of the others, and they're even then. I don't. You guys know Tim? Excuse me, what's his name again? All of a sudden, I'm having a senior citizen moment. Ted Knavel. I'm trying to think if that's not the name. I think. What is
Bye-bye,
his
Terry.
name again? But no, it's just a point of even the heavy hitters are starting to say something's not right here. This just doesn't feel right, and it doesn't.
Mhm.
None of this feels right. But we're going to find out.
In spite of all the good things that have happened in the last 100 days, you're only as good as the last thing you did.
Yeah,
So when you get to that place where everything starts slowing down, and particularly when the job isn't finished yet, that's when people start getting antsy. It literally made me think of this scripture
Tim
verse,
Pool.
Proverbs 13:12, that says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when the desire comes, it is a tree of life." The people of this country are anxious to actually see people brought to justice that they know have committed all these criminal acts against them for years in so many different areas, and knowing that they're all interconnected with each other. And they want to see these people go. They want to see them go to jail. They want to see some accountability for this. And so far, they haven't seen enough of that.
Yeah.
how many people are dead because
Well-
of this? Think about it. How many
Yeah.
tens of thousands of people are actually
Mhm.
dead from the fentanyl crossing into our borders. How many
Yes.
people are dead because of COVID worldwide? How many millions are dead because of that? And it's still not over with, according to what we're finding out. It's still not over with because
Yeah,
those
and then
older-
because of their solution to COVID, there's tens of thousands more added to that. And on top of that, according to the VAERS data, there are more people than have actually died. There are more people who their doctors are reporting are now permanently disabled from the solution to the pandemic.
Well, I
Think about
personally right
that.
now, personally, I think that what has to really happen is that Trump or the cabinet, this cabinet has got to get a hold of the Supreme Court and say, listen, shut or get off the pot. No more playing games, because I still remember the first time all the way back in 2020 when Judge Roberts was asked about looking into the election fraud, and the words came out, no standing. No standing. And that has been something we've been hearing every single time that it's work, that's something we know we've got good going against somebody else. It's used against us. There's no standing. And Roberts, I don't trust him as far as you can throw him. And it looks like, even Kavanaugh might be compromised by now. They might have gotten to him.
Well, and
because-
definitely Amy Coney Barrett has been a big disappointment
Oh yeah,
on the court.
definitely.
She's voting with the left just as often as she goes the other way, and sometimes more.
Well,
I would rather see a judge voting on both, what would be considered left or right, and being somewhere in the middle, rather than, it could be just as bad if they're all to the right as well as all to the left. So when it comes to judges, you really want them to be kind of neutral and independent thinking, and just base everything on the rule of law and not opinion.
But Dave, it comes down to the point: who has jurisdiction over the criminals that they're deporting? The president of the United States or some local circuit judge? Who has control? This is a yes or no, or up or down, sideways or whatever. This is a simple question that the Supreme Court needs to answer. Said, okay.
Right, I think so too. I mean, I think they stepped out of their boundary on that.
Because he stepped already out of his boundary. Supreme
Well,
Court.
because number one, you're supposed to be judging. Yeah, a case has to come in front of you, and you have to have. You have to have the people that are, rather than calling on people. Hey, come on, join this so I can put this out here. Somebody else has to bring the case, not a judge. When a judge starts putting his power out there, then he's not a judge anymore. He's an unelected official trying to control the government. You know what I'm saying? In other words, he was not elected. He was appointed.
No.
So,
but
anyway, we're almost at the top of the hour. I want to tell Lisette, drop me a note. I sent my email across to the bottom. I don't know if you caught that, but it's real simple. It's dave@davenottingcali.com. Real easy email. Drop me a note. And you can too, Nancy. I'd like to hear from you guys from time to time. Anyway, anything you want to say, Nina, before we close out here?
I think the biggest thing that we can say is we're never going to get full resolution of all the things that we know are wrong from the government. It's going to have to come from the people, and the people are going to have to be transformed themselves. And there's only one who can do that.
Yeah.
And it's not Donald Trump.
Right.
Yeah.
One above him.
That's right.
And not that Pope guy underneath you.
No, not him either. No. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well,
all right.
Glad you made it, John.
Okay.
Only a few minutes, but
it's great to see you guys. Thanks for inviting me again.
Thank you for coming back in, Nina. Saved the day. All righty.